July 1st, 1863, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. In the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, beneath a blazing summer sun, 160,000 men converged in a small, quiet town called Gettysburg. For 3 days, they would clash in one of the bloodiest and most decisive battles in American history, a battle that would determine the fate of a nation divided. The year was 1863. The United States was torn apart by civil war, brother against brother, North against South. Confederate General Robert E. Lee, emboldened by recent victories, launched his boldest campaign yet, an invasion of the North. His goal? To strike fear into the Union, force political pressure for peace, and perhaps even gain foreign recognition for the Confederacy. But fate had other plans. On July 1st, Lee's army collided unexpectedly with Union forces under General George G. Meade near Gettysburg, a chance encounter that would spiral into an epic confrontation. The battle erupted with ferocity. Confederate troops surged against Union lines, pushing them back through the town. By nightfall, the Union Army had retreated to the high ground south of Gettysburg, taking positions on Cemetery Hill and along a ridge shaped like a fishhook, a defensive stance that would prove critical. On July 2nd, Lee launched devastating attacks on both Union flanks. The fields known as the Wheat Field, the Peach Orchard, and a rocky hill called Little Round Top became slaughterhouses. Waves of Confederate soldiers charged, met with fierce resistance from Union defenders. At Little Round Top, Union Colonel Joshua Chamberlain and his men held the line against overwhelming odds, executing a daring bayonet charge that saved the Union's left flank, and perhaps the entire battle. The morning of July 2nd, 1863. The battle had only just begun, but the earth was already soaked in blood. Confederate General Robert E. Lee, undeterred by the previous day's fighting, devised a bold plan, one that could break the Union lines and deliver him a decisive victory. His target? The Union flanks. Lee entrusted his right-hand man, General James Longstreet, with leading the attack. At Fort Hunwayam, the Confederate forces began their advance, moving toward the Union left flank, where rocky hills and open wheat fields stretched before them. The first target, the Peach Orchard. What was once a quiet, lush grove would soon be reduced to a shattered wasteland of splintered trees and fallen men. Cannon fire erupted, shaking the ground as Union artillery unleashed a devastating barrage. As the battle raged, another killing ground emerged, the wheat field. Here, amid golden stalks of grain, thousands of men clashed in a brutal struggle that saw control of the field change hands 6 times. The tall wheat offered no shelter. It merely became a grave for those who fell. By nightfall, the battle had ground to a halt, but at a terrible cost. The Peach Orchard, the wheat field, and Little Round Top were littered with thousands of bodies, men who had fought with every ounce of courage they had, only to be swallowed by war's merciless grip. The second day of Gettysburg was a day of blood and sacrifice. It was a day when men fought for survival, for their comrades, and for the fate of a divided nation. But the battle was not yet over. The final, most desperate act was still to come on the fateful third day. July 3rd, the final gamble. Lee ordered a frontal assault on the center of the Union line, a desperate move known as Pickett's Charge. 2,500 Confederate soldiers marched across open fields under a hailstorm of Union artillery and rifle fire. It was a slaughter. The Confederate forces were decimated, their charge repelled with catastrophic losses. As the smoke cleared, Lee's army had been shattered. The Battle of Gettysburg was over, but its impact would echo through history. The Union had emerged victorious, turning back General Robert E. Lee's invasion of the North. Over 50,000 men lay dead, wounded, or missing, a horrifying toll that reminded both sides of war's brutal price. Though Lee's army would fight on for nearly 2 more years, Gettysburg marked a turning point. Never again would the Confederacy launch such an ambitious invasion. The momentum had shifted, and the path to Union victory had begun. 4 months after the battle, President Abraham Lincoln stood upon this hallowed ground and delivered words that would define the meaning of the war, words that would shape the very soul of the nation. A new birth of freedom, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. The Civil War tested America's very foundation. The Union's victory preserved the nation, ended slavery, and reaffirmed that freedom must belong to all. The sacrifices made on the fields of Gettysburg and throughout the war paved the way for a stronger, more united America. Though the cannons have long fallen silent, the story of Gettysburg and the Civil War lives on. It is a story of sacrifice, of struggle, and of the unyielding pursuit of freedom. And as long as America stands, the legacy of those who fought shall never be forgotten.